There is something that cannot be taught, cannot be rehearsed, cannot be manufactured. When a man who has truly lived speaks, his words do not just travel through the air, they travel through time. They carry the weight of decades, the quiet authority of a man who has seen love fail, watched pride destroy good people, and still chose wisdom over bitterness. When that kind of man looks at you and says something true, it does not land in your ears, it lands in your bones. It settles in your chest like a truth you always carried, but never had words for. If you have been starving for something real, in a world drowning in fake validation, cheap flattery, and recycled compliments that mean absolutely nothing, then you are in the right place. Welcome to love, lies, and reality. What we build here is not surface. It is not noise. It is foundation. It is the kind of truth that changes the way you see yourself permanently. Stay with me, because what I am about to share will hit you in ways you did not expect. There is a world of difference between a boy who says, "You look good," and a man who says, "You carry yourself well." One is commenting on the packaging, the other is acknowledging the architecture, the invisible, unshakable structure you built in silence, in struggle, when no one was clapping, when the room was empty, when the lights were off, and no audience existed to witness it. That is what a man of real experience sees, not the performance, the foundation. Let us get into it. Compliment number 1, you are not like most people. Now pay close attention here, because this is where it gets deeply important. When a younger man says this, it is usually because you exceeded his limited expectations. His narrow frame of reference got stretched slightly, and he noticed. That is not depth. That is just exposure. He surprised himself, not you. But when a man who has lived decades says this, the entire weight of that sentence changes. He has encountered thousands of people. He has watched the same patterns repeat across generations. He has seen masks so convincing they fooled entire rooms. He has watched people collapse under pressure he barely flinched at. He has witnessed betrayal, resilience, mediocrity, and genuine greatness. And he has learned to tell the difference without thinking twice. So when he tells you that you are not like most people, he is not flattering you. He is filing a report. He has the catalog, the reference points, the decades of evidence, and every single one of them is pointing at you saying, "This one is different." That is not a compliment born from attraction. That is recognition born from lived experience. And recognition from a man who has seen everything twice, who no longer impresses easily, who no longer says things just to fill silence, that is rare. Compliment number 2, you do not need to prove anything. This one is going to shake you, and I need you to sit with it for a moment before you move past it. You have been proving yourself your entire life, to your family, to your workplace, to friends who kept silent score, to people who never asked and never acknowledged, but somehow made you feel like your right to exist here required constant evidence. You have been performing, earning, justifying, demonstrating, over-explaining your value so consistently that you do not even notice you are doing it anymore. It became your baseline, your default, your exhausting, invisible daily labor. And then a man with gray at his temples, with steady eyes, and a stillness that comes from surviving things he will never fully speak about, looks at you and quietly says, "You do not need to prove anything." And something inside you cracks open, not because he gave you permission, you never needed his permission, but because he saw what you were doing to yourself. He saw the weight you were carrying that no one else even noticed. He saw the invisible labor, the quiet, relentless exhaustion of a woman who has been earning her right to breathe without apology every single day for years without rest. And he said, "Stop." Not with force, with truth. with the kind of calm authority that only comes from a man who has watched enough people destroy themselves trying to earn love they already deserved. That kind of compliment does not make you feel pretty. It makes you feel free. It makes you feel seen in a way that terrifies you because somewhere along the way, you forgot what it felt like to be witnessed without performing first. Compliment number 3. You remind me of someone I deeply respect. This is not comparison. This is lineage. This is alignment. When an older man says this, he is connecting you to a woman who shaped him, his mother perhaps, a mentor, a teacher, a woman who walked into every room and changed its temperature without raising her voice, without demanding attention, without asking for anything. A woman who redirected the course of his life simply by being exactly who she was. When he sees that same quality in you, he is not being nostalgic, he is being precise. He is saying, you carry something timeless, something I have only witnessed in women who mattered. Women who left marks, not on skin, but on character, not on paper, but on souls. That compliment is an inheritance. It is not flattery dressed in nostalgia. It is a legacy being extended to you from one woman who earned it to another who deserves it. Accept it without shrinking. Compliment number 4. You are the calmest person in this room. Let me tell you why this one cuts deeper than you ever expected. We live in a world that rewards noise, that celebrates reaction, that gives platforms to the loudest voice and the fastest, most explosive response. The world rewards chaos dressed as passion and drama disguised as depth. And most people have been so conditioned by this that they mistake stillness for weakness, quietness for having nothing to say, composure for indifference. But a man of genuine experience knows a secret the crowd has forgotten. Power is not volume. Power is stillness. Power is the woman who does not flinch when the room catches fire, who does not rush when everyone else is panicking, who does not react from raw emotion while the storm is still spinning, who lets the chaos move around her and remains exactly where she is, unmoved, unshaken, fully, dangerously present. Compliment number 5. You are going to be fine. This one sounds simple, almost too simple, until you understand the context. When you are falling apart, when the ground beneath your feet has turned to sand, when every plan has collapsed, every map you drew has been washed away, and the future looks like a blank wall you cannot see past, and a man who has buried his own dreams and rebuilt from rubble, who has walked through fire and loss and silence and still arrived whole, looks at you without pity, without performance, and says with complete steadiness, you are going to be fine. That is not optimism. That is testimony. He is not guessing. He is not hoping. He is remembering. He walked through what you are walking through, and he is standing in front of you as living proof that it does not break you. It builds you. And he sees in you the same thing that kept him alive when survival felt impossible. A quiet, iron refusal to quit. A stubbornness that looks like softness from a distance, but is made of something unbreakable at its core, wrapped in grace, coated in patience, but iron nonetheless. You are going to be fine from a man like that is not a wish. It is a verdict, delivered by someone who earned the right to deliver it. Believe him, not because he said it, but because you already know it is true. Compliment number 6. You do not tolerate nonsense, and I deeply admire that. This one matters more than almost any other because of what it costs you to get there. So many women are conditioned from childhood to be agreeable, to smooth things over, to absorb other people's discomfort so they do not have to feel it, to smile while burning, to nod while disagreeing, to make themselves smaller, quieter, softer, easier, so that the people around them can remain comfortable and undisturbed. And when you finally stop doing that, when you finally choose yourself with complete clarity and without apology, the world does not always celebrate you. Sometimes it calls you difficult, cold, too intense, too much, intimidating, as if your strength is an inconvenience to people who got used to your silence. But a man who has spent decades watching people destroy themselves through endless agreeableness, watching them trade their self-respect for approval they never actually received, he sees something entirely different when he looks at you. He sees a woman who chose survival over performance, who understood that boundaries are not walls built to isolate, they are doors, and you alone decide who walks through them and who remains on the other side. Compliment number 7. Whoever raised you did something right. This one will stop you cold, especially if the truth is that you largely raised yourself. Maybe the people who were supposed to show up did not show up. Maybe the chairs were empty at the table where guidance should have sat. Maybe you built your own moral compass from broken pieces and conflicting signals and nothing but sheer, stubborn will. Maybe you became your own parent, your own mentor, your own village out of pure necessity. And when a man with real years behind him looks at you and says, "Whoever raised you did something right," he is not praising absent people. He is praising the result. He is honoring the tree, not the soil that may have barely nourished it. He is saying, somewhere in all of that chaos, something took root. Something extraordinary grew despite every reason it should not have, despite the drought, despite the neglect, despite every storm that should have destroyed it. He is complimenting your harvest. And for a woman who built herself from the ground up, who mothered herself, who fathered herself, who became her own foundation when no foundation was given to her, that is everything. It means the work was never invisible. It was just waiting for the right set of eyes to finally witness it, and he is those eyes. Compliment number 8, the one that stays with you forever. You do not need me or anyone to tell you what you are worth. Read that again in your mind, slowly. Let each word arrive fully before the next one comes. You do not need me or anyone to tell you what you are worth. When a man who has genuinely earned his wisdom says this, he is doing something almost no one does. He is removing himself from your validation system entirely. He is stepping down from whatever pedestal you might place him on. He is refusing to let you outsource your worth to his opinion, his gaze, his approval, his desire. He is telling you that your value is not located in anyone else, not in love, not in attention, not in applause, not in numbers, not in recognition. Your worth lives inside of you. Self-contained, self-sourced, self-sustained, already whole, already complete, unshakable, because it was never built on anything that could be taken away. That is the most powerful compliment a man can offer a woman because it does not bind her to him. It does not create a chain made of praise. It does not build dependency disguised as devotion. It sets her free, completely, permanently. It tells her that the only voice with the authority to define her value is her own. Now let me speak directly to every woman hearing this right now. You have been starving for these words, not because you are broken, not because you are weak, not because you are incomplete, but because the world has been feeding you the wrong things for far too long. It fed you attention when what you needed was respect. It fed you excitement when what you needed was peace. It fed you followers when what you needed was foundation. It fed you an endless stream of noise when what your soul was actually hungry for was truth. And you have been starving in the middle of abundance, surrounded by everything and nourished by nothing, because not one piece of what was being offered was real. Not one piece touched the part of you that actually needed to be reached. These compliments hit differently, not simply because of the age or experience of the man delivering them, but because of what they honor. They honor your stillness, your discipline, your backbone, your absolute non-negotiable refusal to shrink when the world handed you every reason to make yourself smaller, your capacity to keep moving when you had every excuse and every permission to stop and you chose not to. They honor your architecture, not your appearance, your depth, not your surface, your roots, not your petals, your foundation, not your decoration. And that is what you have been waiting to hear. Not that you are beautiful. The world already told you that. The mirror told you that. Beauty was never the question. The real question, the one you have been carrying in silence for years, was, am I seen? Am I known? Am I valued for what lives underneath everything I show the world? And the answer, from a man who has lived long enough to know the difference between surface and substance, is yes. You are seen, you are known, you are valued, not for what you perform, not for what you display, for what you are. At the core, in the silence, in the dark, when the audience is gone and the performance ends, that is where your worth lives, and it is blinding. Do not dim it. Do not compress it into a shape that smaller minds can process more comfortably. Do not fold yourself into something quieter so that people with less depth can feel at ease around you. Let it burn on its own terms, in its own time, at its own extraordinary temperature. The right people will find their way to it. The right man will recognize it, not because he wants to own it, not because he wants to tame it, but because he has lived long enough to understand that some things are not meant to be held. They are meant to be witnessed, honored, and left wild, free, and completely untamed. That is the standard. That is the frequency. That is the baseline you refuse to negotiate below, and you will never find it by lowering your voice. You will find it by owning everything you are. Every scar, every storm, every lesson, every night you survived that you never speak about, every time you stood back up after the world knocked you clean off your feet. You were never too much, not once, not ever. You were simply surrounded by people without the capacity to hold what you are, people too small for your enormity, too shallow for your depth, too fragile for your fire, and that era is ending. It is closing behind you right now like a door you will never walk through again. This next chapter, this new season, it belongs to you, unfiltered, unedited, unafraid, unapologetic, uncontained. Subscribe to Love, Lies, and Reality. Hit that bell so you never miss what we are building here. Share this video with a woman in your life who is carrying weight. She has never spoken out loud, a sister, a mother, a friend, a stranger who needs to hear tonight that she is more than enough. Drop a comment below and tell me which compliment hit you the deepest, because I read every single one. This channel exists for women who are done with noise and ready for truth, done with surface and ready for depth, done with content that entertains for a moment and forgotten by morning, and ready for words that stay, that change something, that remind you of who you were always meant to be. Come back, stay here, because what we are building at Love, Lies, and Reality is something different, something realer.